Too often in life, we give away pieces of ourselves to people, situations, or outcomes that we cannot control. We tie our happiness to the approval of others, to their actions, or to circumstances that are constantly shifting. And when those things don't meet our expectations, we feel frustrated, disappointed, or even broken. Emotional independence is the opposite of that. It is the understanding that your peace, your joy, and your sense of self-worth are yours alone to cultivate. They cannot be borrowed, they cannot be forced, and they cannot be stolen unless you allow them to be. To be emotionally independent means to stand in your own strength, to recognize that no one else is responsible for your state of mind. It's a recognition that while people and circumstances may influence your life, they do not define your inner world. It is the freedom to experience love, friendship, and connection without clinging to them, and to face challenges without being consumed by fear or need. When you become emotionally independent, you learn to see situations and people for what they truly are, rather than what you wish them to be. You stop trying to fix, control, or manipulate outcomes that were never yours to manage. You realize that detachment is not about shutting down your heart. It's about protecting it while still engaging fully with life. It allows you to respond rather than react, to make choices based on wisdom rather than emotion, and to prioritize your growth over external validation. Emotional independence is the foundation of detachment because, without it, walking away feels like rejection or abandonment. With it, detachment becomes a tool for clarity, strength, and peace. You stop fearing loneliness and start valuing solitude as a space for self-discovery. You stop measuring your worth by how others treat you and start measuring it by how faithfully you honor yourself. This is not a journey of isolation. It's a journey of empowerment. It's learning that you can give love without losing yourself, that you can engage without being consumed, and that you can exist fully in the world while remaining untethered from what does not serve you. Emotional independence transforms your perspective. It teaches you that attachment does not have to mean dependence, and that detachment does not have to mean indifference. It allows you to navigate life with clarity, to protect your energy, and to embrace relationships and opportunities that align with your values, rather than cling to those that drain you. In the end, understanding and cultivating emotional independence is about reclaiming your life, reclaiming your peace, and stepping into a version of yourself that is unshakable, resilient, and free. Recognizing toxic relationships and draining situations is one of the most powerful steps toward personal growth, yet it is also one of the most challenging. Life places people and circumstances in our path, and not all of them are meant to stay. Some bring encouragement, others bring lessons, and some bring nothing but negativity that eats away at our energy, our focus, and our joy. The first challenge is awareness, seeing clearly when a person or a situation is no longer serving your higher purpose. Toxic relationships are not always obvious. They may come dressed in familiarity, love, or friendship, but underneath they sap your strength, create stress, and cloud your clarity. Draining situations often demand more than you can give, create repeated disappointment, or keep you tethered to cycles of frustration. Recognizing them requires honesty and courage. It requires you to ask yourself difficult questions. Am I growing here, or am I shrinking? Does this relationship lift me up, or does it hold me down? Am I giving my energy to something that nurtures me, or something that depletes me? Many of us avoid these questions because the truth can be uncomfortable. We fear confrontation, loss, or change. But growth always requires courage, and emotional freedom is born in the willingness to face reality, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Once you identify what is toxic, you can begin the process of detachment, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Detachment does not mean hate, nor does it mean indifference. It is a conscious choice to preserve your energy, your peace, and your purpose. It allows you to step back without resentment, to remove yourself from cycles that no longer align with your goals, and to create space for relationships and experiences that truly elevate you. Recognizing toxicity also requires understanding that not everyone is meant to walk with you forever. People evolve, circumstances change, and life moves in directions that may no longer intersect with your path. This recognition is liberating because it shifts your perspective from blame or guilt to acceptance and empowerment. The more you practice identifying and stepping away from draining relationships and situations, the stronger your sense of self becomes. You learn to honor your boundaries, protect your energy, and choose growth over comfort. Ultimately, recognizing toxic influences is not a one-time act, it is a lifelong skill. It is about cultivating awareness, asserting your worth, and refusing to compromise your peace. When you can do this consistently, you no longer live in fear of confrontation or loneliness. Instead, you walk confidently in clarity, knowing that your life is yours to shape, and that the people and situations you allow into it are there because they add value, not because they take it away. Accepting that some people and situations are not meant for your journey is one of the hardest truths to embrace, yet it is also one of the most liberating. Life is a constant flow of encounters, experiences, and challenges, and not every person you meet, nor every situation you face, is meant to stay in your life forever. The resistance to this truth comes from attachment, the idea that if you let go, you are losing something essential. But in reality, holding on to people or situations that no longer serve you only keeps you from growing into the person you are meant to become. Acceptance begins with perspective. You must see life as a series of chapters, not a single, unchangeable story. Some people are meant to teach you lessons, some to walk with you for a season, and some simply to show you what you do not want in your life. Similarly, some situations are temporary tests or detours, and clinging to them only prolongs your discomfort and stunts your growth. Understanding this allows you to release the weight of expectation. When you accept that not everything or everyone is meant to remain, you stop forcing outcomes and start focusing on what you can influence: your thoughts, your actions, and your mindset. This acceptance does not mean passivity or indifference. It does not mean giving up on relationships or goals prematurely. It means recognizing reality with clarity and choosing how to respond in a way that preserves your energy and dignity. It allows you to make conscious decisions about who you allow into your inner circle and which situations you invest in. You begin to see that detachment is not rejection, it is a commitment to your own path, a refusal to let temporary circumstances dictate your long-term peace. When you practice this regularly, you cultivate resilience. You learn to navigate change without fear, to embrace endings without resentment, and to pursue new opportunities without clinging to the past. Acceptance becomes a form of empowerment because it shifts the focus from what you cannot control to what you can: your own life, your own choices, and your own growth. Life's journey is unpredictable, and those who insist on keeping everything and everyone in place often find themselves frustrated and stuck. Those who accept impermanence, however, discover freedom, clarity, and the capacity to create space for what truly matters. In the end, accepting that some people and situations are not meant for your journey is not a surrender, it is a declaration of self-respect and wisdom. It is the ability to let go gracefully, move forward confidently, and remain open to the possibilities that life is still waiting to offer. Learning to control your reactions instead of trying to control others is one of the most powerful skills you can develop in life. Too many people spend their energy attempting to change the behavior, opinions, or decisions of those around them, only to feel frustrated, drained, and powerless when things don't go their way. The truth is, you cannot control anyone but yourself. Your power lies in your response. Every situation presents a choice. How will you react? Will you allow anger, resentment, or fear to dictate your actions, or will you respond with calm clarity and intention? When you take ownership of your reactions, you reclaim your energy and your peace. Controlling others is a futile endeavor. It is like trying to direct the wind. You cannot command it, you cannot force it to blow in your favor, but you can adjust your sails. Your reactions are the sails. They determine the direction your life takes despite external forces. This understanding allows you to disengage from unnecessary conflict, to step back when emotions run high, and to respond with wisdom rather than impulse. Controlling your reactions also strengthens your emotional resilience. It teaches patience, self-awareness, and the ability to pause before acting. You begin to notice patterns in your behavior, to identify triggers that unsettle you, and to consciously choose responses that align with your values rather than your immediate feelings. This does not mean suppressing emotions or ignoring them. It means acknowledging them, understanding them, and channeling them constructively. When you master this skill, detachment becomes natural. You no longer feel compelled to fix everyone or every situation. You can observe, engage, and contribute without being consumed by the outcomes. You learn that people's actions are a reflection of their own choices, not a reflection of your worth or control. This mindset shift is liberating. It frees you from unnecessary stress, drama, and emotional turbulence. You begin to recognize that your peace is more important than being right or being in control. You start to focus on your growth, your purpose, and your priorities. Life becomes less about manipulating circumstances and more about mastering yourself. Ultimately, learning to control your reactions instead of others is a cornerstone of emotional intelligence. It is the foundation of detachment and personal freedom. It allows you to navigate life with composure, make better decisions, and maintain integrity in every interaction. When you respond rather than react, you transform challenges into opportunities, conflict into understanding, and tension into strength. You discover that true power is not in controlling the world around you, but in mastering the world within yourself. Establishing boundaries firmly and respectfully is one of the most important skills for protecting your energy, your focus, and your peace of mind. Too often, people allow themselves to be pulled into situations, relationships, or responsibilities that drain them simply because they haven't set clear limits. Boundaries are not about being rigid or unkind. They are about honoring yourself and your values. They communicate to others what is acceptable and what is not, and they serve as a framework for healthy interactions. When you set boundaries, you create a space where your mind, body, and spirit can thrive. You protect yourself from manipulation, overcommitment, and unnecessary stress. But establishing boundaries requires courage. It requires the willingness to say no, even when it is uncomfortable, and to prioritize your well-being over approval or acceptance. Respectful boundaries are communicated with clarity and honesty, not aggression. You explain your limits calmly, without guilt or apology, and you enforce them consistently. Consistency is key because boundaries are only effective when they are upheld. People may push back, test your limits, or react negatively, but this is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of the adjustment they must make to your newfound self-respect. Boundaries also teach others how to treat you. They are a mirror of your values and your expectations, showing the world that you are not willing to compromise your peace for the convenience of others. At the same time, boundaries are not barriers to connection. They are enablers of it. By clearly defining what is acceptable, you allow relationships to flourish in a healthy, balanced way. People know what to expect, and you protect yourself from burnout, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. Establishing boundaries is an act of self-love. It is a commitment to your mental and emotional well-being, a declaration that your energy is valuable, and a recognition that you are responsible for your own peace. When you practice this skill regularly, you gain confidence, clarity, and control over your life. You become less reactive to negativity, less entangled in drama, and more focused on your purpose. In the long run, boundaries create a life where detachment becomes natural because you have already defined the limits of your involvement. You no longer feel compelled to overextend yourself or to absorb the chaos of others. Instead, you engage intentionally, giving your time, energy, and attention where it truly matters and letting go where it does not. Ultimately, establishing boundaries is not about keeping people out. It is about keeping yourself in. It is about cultivating an environment where your growth, peace, and happiness are protected, respected, and prioritized. And it is one of the most empowering steps you can take toward detaching from situations and relationships that do not serve you. Practicing mindfulness to stay present and reduce overthinking is one of the most powerful tools you can use to detach from people and situations. So often, our minds are caught up in the past, replaying mistakes, grievances, or regrets, or projecting into the future, worrying about what might happen, what could go wrong, or what others might think. This constant mental noise keeps us tethered to situations and people we cannot control, draining our energy and clouding our judgment. Mindfulness teaches us to return to the present moment, to observe our thoughts without being consumed by them, and to respond rather than react. When you practice mindfulness, you learn to notice the thoughts and emotions that arise when dealing with difficult people or challenging circumstances. You observe them without judgment, recognizing that they are not facts but signals, messages from your mind and body about how you are being affected. This awareness allows you to choose your response intentionally. You start to see that the chaos of others does not need to become your chaos, and that the weight of past mistakes or future anxieties does not have to define your current state. Mindfulness also strengthens your inner resilience. When you are present, you are less likely to overthink every interaction, to replay conversations, or to obsess over outcomes that are beyond your control. You begin to understand that peace is not found in controlling others, but in controlling your own attention and awareness. Every time you bring yourself back to the present, you reclaim a piece of your energy and power. This practice helps you detach not with indifference, but with clarity and calm. You no longer carry the burden of what could have been or what might happen. You focus on what is happening now and how you can act in alignment with your values. Mindfulness also enhances your understanding of yourself. By observing your reactions and emotions in real time, you learn more about your triggers, your attachments, and the areas where you need to strengthen your boundaries. You become conscious of the patterns that keep you entangled in toxic relationships or draining situations and gain the ability to break free from them. Over time, mindfulness transforms detachment into a natural state of being. You respond thoughtfully instead of impulsively. You engage without losing yourself, and you navigate life with a calm, grounded presence. Ultimately, practicing mindfulness is not about escaping reality. It is about embracing it fully while maintaining control over your mind and your energy. It allows you to step away from what no longer serves you, to hold your peace above the turbulence of others, and to live a life rooted in awareness, clarity, and intentionality. Shifting focus from external validation to self-validation is one of the most transformative steps you can take toward personal freedom and detachment. For too long, people allow their sense of worth to be dictated by the opinions, judgments, and approval of others. We seek praise, recognition, and acceptance from friends, family, coworkers, and even strangers, thinking that these external markers define who we are. But when your value depends on others, you surrender your power. You live in constant anxiety, always measuring yourself against standards that are not your own, and allowing other people's moods, actions, or criticisms to shape your emotional state. Self-validation, on the other hand, is the practice of recognizing your own worth and affirming your own achievements, strengths, and growth without needing external approval. It is about saying to yourself, I am enough, I am capable, I am worthy, and believing it even when the world does not acknowledge it. When you cultivate self-validation, you begin to notice a shift in how you interact with people and situations. You no longer feel compelled to over-explain yourself, overcompensate for mistakes, or seek constant reassurance. Instead, you operate from a place of inner certainty, making decisions based on your values, priorities, and goals rather than trying to please everyone around you. This shift also helps you detach from toxic relationships and draining situations. When your self-worth comes from within, you are less likely to stay in environments that diminish you or to tolerate behavior that disrespects you. You gain the strength to step back, to say no, and to walk away when necessary without guilt or self-doubt. Self-validation also fosters resilience. When challenges arise, when criticism comes, or when outcomes are not what you hoped for, you are not thrown off balance. You trust in your own judgment, your effort, and your process. You recognize that your value is inherent and does not depend on external circumstances. Over time, this mindset transforms your life. Relationships become healthier because you engage from a place of confidence rather than neediness. Decisions become clearer because you prioritize alignment with your values over the desire for approval. And detachment becomes natural because you no longer rely on others to feel whole. Shifting from external validation to self-validation is not a one-time act. It is a daily practice of self-awareness, self-respect, and conscious affirmation. It is a declaration that your peace, happiness, and growth are your responsibility alone. And when you live by this principle, you step into a life of empowerment, freedom, and unwavering inner strength, where the opinions of others are simply noise and your own voice is the authority you follow. Embracing solitude as a tool for self-growth is one of the most overlooked yet powerful practices for detachment and personal development. Too often, people fear being alone, equating solitude with loneliness, weakness, or failure. They fill their lives with distractions, constant interaction, and external noise to avoid facing themselves. But solitude is not emptiness, it is presence. It is the space where you confront your thoughts, examine your emotions, and connect deeply with your inner self. When you embrace solitude, you give yourself permission to reflect on your life without external influence, to understand your motivations, your fears, and your desires. You begin to see patterns in your behavior that may have kept you tethered to toxic relationships, draining situations, or self-limiting beliefs. Solitude allows you to listen to your own voice, to trust your own judgment, and to cultivate the clarity that is essential for making conscious, empowered choices. In solitude, distractions fall away, and you are left with yourself, the real you. This is where true growth occurs. You can confront uncomfortable truths, acknowledge areas that need improvement, and celebrate the progress you've made without relying on external validation. Solitude also strengthens your resilience. When you are comfortable being alone, you no longer fear being without others for emotional support, validation, or approval. You learn to generate your own energy, your own peace, and your own sense of purpose. This independence is critical when detaching from people or situations that no longer serve you. Solitude becomes a sanctuary, a place where you recharge, reflect, and reconnect with your priorities. It allows you to step away from the chaos of the world and regain perspective, to see situations clearly without being clouded by emotional attachment or external pressure. Over time, embracing solitude transforms how you engage with life. You become less reactive to drama, less dependent on constant social approval, and more intentional in your actions and relationships. You start to understand that being alone is not a punishment, it is a powerful tool for self-mastery and freedom. When you use solitude wisely, you cultivate patience, insight, and the ability to detach with grace and confidence. You learn that peace is not found in others or in situations, but within yourself, and that the more you connect with your inner world, the less external circumstances can disturb your balance. Embracing solitude is not about isolating yourself permanently. It is about creating the space to grow, to heal, and to strengthen your foundation so that when you engage with the world, you do so as a grounded, empowered individual, fully capable of navigating life with clarity, purpose, and self-respect. Using detachment to cultivate peace rather than resentment is one of the most important lessons in personal growth and emotional intelligence. So often, when people detach from someone or something, they carry with them anger, bitterness, or a sense of loss. They view detachment as abandonment or rejection, and instead of freeing themselves, they remain tied to negative emotions that continue to drain their energy. True detachment is not about pushing people away or shutting your heart off. It is about creating a space where you can live fully without being controlled or harmed by the behavior, attitudes, or choices of others. When you detach with the intention of cultivating peace, you recognize that your emotional state is your responsibility, not anyone else's. You acknowledge that you cannot control every situation, change every person, or fix every problem, and that attempting to do so only breeds frustration and resentment. Instead, you shift your focus inward, centering yourself and your energy on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and reactions. Detachment with peace in mind allows you to release grudges, forgive where necessary, and let go of expectations that are not being met. It is not about condoning harmful behavior or staying in situations that hurt you. It is about refusing to allow negativity to dominate your inner world. By choosing peace over resentment, you create mental and emotional clarity, enabling you to make better decisions, build healthier relationships, and pursue your goals without distraction. This approach also teaches resilience. Life is filled with people who may disappoint you, situations that may frustrate you, and outcomes that may not align with your desires. When you practice detachment for peace, you navigate these challenges with calm and composure, rather than reacting impulsively or holding on to bitterness that weighs you down. Over time, detachment becomes a lifestyle of empowerment rather than avoidance. You learn that walking away from toxic energy does not diminish you, it strengthens you. You cultivate the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally, to engage with clarity rather than confusion, and to prioritize harmony over conflict. Detachment, when practiced with the intention of peace, transforms your perspective. It allows you to see people and situations without distortion, to act without resentment, and to live without being burdened by the past. Ultimately, using detachment to cultivate peace is not an act of surrender. It is a conscious decision to honor yourself, protect your energy, and choose serenity over chaos. It is the realization that your inner calm is more valuable than any external conflict, and that when you prioritize peace, you create a life of clarity, balance, and enduring strength that no one can take away. Consistently applying detachment as a lifestyle, rather than treating it as a one-time act, is what transforms emotional freedom from theory into practice. Many people detach temporarily, reacting to a moment of clarity, frustration, or pain, but then return to old patterns because detachment was never integrated into their daily mindset. True detachment is not about occasional withdrawal or sporadic disengagement. It is about creating a consistent practice that becomes part of how you live, think, and respond. When you apply detachment consistently, you train yourself to observe situations and relationships without being consumed by them. You recognize that your peace and energy are your most valuable assets, and you make choices every day that protect them. This means not reacting impulsively to every conflict, not clinging to outcomes you cannot control, and not giving your attention to things or people that drain you unnecessarily. It also means being intentional in what you allow into your life. You evaluate relationships, environments, and responsibilities regularly, and you make conscious decisions to engage only with those that align with your values and contribute to your growth. Applying detachment consistently requires self-awareness and reflection. You must check in with yourself regularly, asking whether your actions, thoughts, and emotional investments are serving your long-term well-being or simply reacting to temporary discomforts or attachments. It is a daily discipline of prioritizing clarity over chaos, purpose over distraction, and inner peace over external approval. Over time, this practice strengthens your resilience and emotional intelligence. You become less reactive, more grounded, and better able to navigate challenges without losing yourself in the turbulence of others' behavior or uncontrollable circumstances. Detachment as a lifestyle also fosters healthier relationships. When you engage with people from a place